Assalamu alaikum, I am Shayma and this is Rvision News. In demand of an ethnic recognition as Rohingya, a silent protest was held at makeshift camps. Rohingya refugees flee India amid panic over data collection drive. Burma seizes boat carrying 93 fleeing Rohingya. From Palestine to Rohingya, talking points at Islamic Unity Conference. Bangladesh to handle Rohingya resettlement after polls. A silent protest was observed in demand of their ethnic identity as Rohingya in UNHCR provided smart cards and to end their sharing family data with the Burmese government in makeshift camps of Cox's Bazar on 27 November 2018. While observing the silent protest, common Rohingya showed their unity by shutting off their businesses, shops, day-to-day activities, along with Rohingya working in the INGOs by intentionally escaping their working hours. According to the statement released prior to the protest, it stated that the term Rohingya is very important because we have been persecuted because of our ethnicity. The term was banned in Myanmar, it shouldn't be banned here. Earlier, several other protests were held in different makeshift camps in denial of accepting the smart cards and sharing of their biodata. Since the campaign of the smart cards started, several cases of torture, abuse, and threatening were reported from the camps in enforcing it. Since late 2016, 1.3 million Rohingya are living an inhuman life after fleeing a deadly genocidal operation on them. Their suffering seems to further worsen for the issues of the smart cards and the collection of the biodata, which is creating a fearful and frustrated environment for the genocide survivors. Rohingya refugees are fleeing India and going into hiding amid fears that a government campaign to collect their personal information is a prelude to mass deportation. The data gathering, which includes biometric information, follows the government's first transfer of 7 Rohingya back to Burma last month. Critics say the ruling Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party is targeting the persecuted Muslim community ahead of a general election due in May. We are sure the Indian government is preparing to send us back to Burma, said Abul Foiz, who ran away from a Rohingya refugee camp in the northern city of Jammu last week. Intelligence officers had visited the camp and asked him to write down the date he entered India and his original address in Burma. In the past few days, over 200 Rohingyas have disappeared from Jammu, Mr. Foiz said. No one wants to return to Burma, where we are still facing violence and persecution. Abu Hussein, 65, told the Telegraph that he fled a refugee camp in Jammu after 6 years and entered Bangladesh last week. Our camps were set alight by the people we suspect were from the Hindu group. Police said they couldn't help us. The situation was turning very hostile, Mr. Hussein said, from his new home in Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh. Rohingya in Buddhist majority Burma have faced the discrimination for decades. And last year, the UN accused Burma's government of genocidal intent after a bloody military crackdown forced 700,000 of the Muslim minority out of the country. In an emailed statement, UNHCR New Delhi said that it was concerned about the anxiety in the Rohingya community caused by the latest developments. Although Rohingya lived in India without much trouble for decades, Narendra Modi's BJP has been fanning resentment since it won the election in 2014. Last year, the government ordered all states to identify and deport Rohingya. Deportation efforts now appear to be getting underway. On October 10th, the government of Assam state announced that it would send 23 Rohingya back to Burma. In Jammu and Kashmir, India's only Muslim-dominated state, one right-wing Hindu group has threatened to identify and kill all of the state's 7,000 Rohingya the government fails to expel. Calculate-based human rights activist Ranjit Soor said the BJP-led government has launched the anti-Rohingya drive with an eye on the general elections next year. Rohingya human rights have been sacrificed at the altar of electoral and communal politics, he said. Authorities in Burma have seized a boat carrying 93 people, apparently Rohingya, fleeing displacement camps in western Arakan state and hoping to reach Malaysia on 27 November 2018. The boat is believed to be the third boat for Malaysia stopped in Burmese waters since monsoon rains began to subside last month, bringing calmer weather, raising fears of a fresh wave of hazardous voyages after a 2015 crackdown on people smugglers. Mozolet, director of the government office in Dawai, a coastal town in southern Burma, said fishermen had reported a suspicious boat to authorities. The Navy stopped the boat on Sunday and detained the 93 people who said they had come from the Taichung camp in the Arakan state capital of Akyap, he said. Taichung is about 900 kilometers northwest of Dawai and holds internally displaced people. They said they ran away from the camp. They said they intended to go to Malaysia, said Mozolet, adding authorities were preparing to send them back to Akyap yesterday. Photographs in media showed police standing by as passengers, many of them women in headscarves and children, huddled on the deck. The boat resembled vessels the Rohingya typically used to escape the apartheid-like conditions in Arakan state, where their movements and access to services are severely curtailed. The UN Refugee Agency has said Burma must address the root causes of displacement, including the lack of citizenship for the Rohingya who are native to Arakan state. More than 800,000 Rohingya crossed into Bangladesh last year, fleeing an army crackdown in the north of Arakan state, according to the UN agencies. UN-mandated investigators have accused the Burmese army of genocidal intent and ethnic cleansing. Burma has denied most allegations of atrocities, even after their crimes were exposed with evidence. During the three-day International Islamic Unity Conference in Tehran this week, many brainstorming discussions were held as part of various commissions on some of the most pressing and significant issues facing the Muslim world today. Many distinguished scholars, authors, cultural experts, diplomats, and politicians took part in these discussions and threw light on various issues. In one of the commissions, former Iranian Foreign Minister Monachir Mottaki spoke about the plight of Rohingya refugees and their impoverished conditions in Bangladesh refugee camps. He said the commission, which comprises Foreign Minister of Jordan, Syria, Iraq and Mauritania, will work to aid Rohingya refugees and highlight their issues in the media. It's been 1 year since Rohingya Muslims were forced to leave Burma, following a brutal crackdown by Burmese military with support from the government. The savagery in Arakan was described by the United Nations as a textbook example of ethnic cleansing. The atrocities were widely documented by human rights bodies, including gang rapes, cold-blooded killings, torture, and destruction of properties belonging to Rohingya Muslims. Two big initiatives to resolve the Rohingya crisis, repatriation since mid-November and resettlement since early October, have been stalled for an indefinite period due to the persecuted refugees' reluctance on the grounds of security and rights. Two issues are likely to be dealt by the new government of Bangladesh following the year-end general elections. Speaking on condition of anonymity, more than one high Bangladeshi government official confirmed that before the December 30 national election, there is no possibility of working on the Rohingya crisis. Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was scheduled to open the new settlement for 100,000 Rohingya refugees at Bhasan Char on 3rd October, but this has been postponed indefinitely. Under a consensus of the two countries, Bangladesh and Burma, In a first phase, more than 2,200 Rohingya were planned to be repatriated on November 15, although international NGOs and the United Nations have repeatedly urged Bangladesh to do it on voluntary basis. As tens of thousands of Rohingya in Burma are still confined to detention centers, and Burmese government still doesn't accept the Rohingya as citizens. Thank you for watching Rvision News. To know more, visit our website rvisiontv.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter.